Most people watching this believe they're above average in intelligence. Statistically, that's impossible. But the interesting part, it's not the gap, not between how smart people think they are and how smart they actually are. The interesting part is what's causing it, because the habits that quietly cost you in rooms that matter, you probably can't see them. Not because you're unaware, because the blind spot is built into the habit itself. These are the 8 signs. Sign 1. You stopped asking real questions, not the questions you already know the answer to, not the ones that make you look engaged, real ones, the kind that come from genuinely not knowing something and actually wanting to find out. A 2011 study found curiosity predicted intellectual achievement as reliably as IQ, not as a bonus, as an equal, because curiosity keeps going one layer deeper. It refuses the surface answer, the settled feeling of already knowing enough. One of the most effective growth stoppers that exists. It doesn't feel like a limitation. It feels like confidence. That's what makes it dangerous. When did something in your own area of expertise last genuinely surprise you? If nothing comes to mind, that's the sign. Sign 2. You talk more than you take in. Every conversation contains information you don't have yet. When you spend it composing your next point while the other person is still mid-sentence, you leave with exactly what you walked in with. Research on high talkers consistently shows they overestimate how much they actually absorbed. You use the conversation to perform understanding rather than build it. Smart people ask questions they don't already know the answers to, not to seem humble, because that's genuinely how thinking gets done. In the last conversation that mattered, how much of it did you actually hear? Sign 3. Your vocabulary is doing work. Your understanding isn't. There's a difference between knowing something and knowing the words for it. Complex language? That's where shallow thinking hides most comfortably. You can sound fluent in a subject, use every piece of correct terminology, and still have no working model of how it actually functions. Real comprehension gives you one specific ability to rebuild an idea from scratch using completely different words, not the technical ones, the plain ones. Try it right now, something you consider yourself knowledgeable about. If the jargon comes out because it's easier rather than because it's clearer, that's the sign. Sign 4. You need things resolved when they aren't, good or bad, right or wrong, safe or dangerous. The brain loves sorting things cleanly. It's faster. It feels like clarity. Psychologists call this dichotomous thinking, and it's linked directly to low cognitive flexibility, the ability to hold competing ideas simultaneously without forcing a verdict on them. Listen to your own language when you're emotionally activated. Words like always, never, everyone, nobody, those aren't emphasis, they're compression, and compression costs accuracy. Most of the truth lives in the complexity. The sharpest thinkers, the ones most comfortable saying, not yet. Sign 5. Your most confidence, exactly where you're most wrong. Dunning-Kruger proved this in 1999. People who scored in the bottom quartile overestimated their own performance by 30 to 40 percentage points. The highest scorers slightly underestimated themselves. The worse someone did, the more certain they felt. The reason is almost cruel. Spotting your own errors requires the exact same skills that would have prevented them. If those skills aren't there, the mistakes are completely invisible, not hidden, invisible. Everyone says they're sometimes wrong. That's easy to say. The harder question is, when was the last time you were completely certain and completely wrong? If nothing surfaces quickly, that's not a sign of accuracy. Sign 6. You argue with evidence instead of learning from it. New information arrives that contradicts what you believe. What happens next? The evidence gets fought, picked apart, dismissed. Psychologists call this belief perseverance, the brain choosing to protect the existing position rather than improve on it. Ego over accuracy. Every single time. Here's what sharp thinkers actually do differently. They hold opinions loosely, not because they lack conviction, because they understand an updated belief is a better belief. Being corrected isn't losing. It's the whole point. The last time someone challenged something you believed, were you listening, or were you already? 3 moves into your rebuttal. Sign 7. You explain what went wrong, but never your part in it. The system failed. The timing was off. The other person dropped the ball. Sometimes that's accurate. When it's always the answer, something else is happening. Psychologists call this low metacognition, the limited ability to observe your own thinking clearly enough to see your own confusion to how things unfold. Without that feedback loop, the same patterns repeat indefinitely. New circumstances, new people, same result, same explanation. Think about the last significant thing that went wrong in your life. How much of your mental energy went toward understanding your own role versus constructing the case that it wasn't yours? Sign 8. You need people to know you're smart. This is the last one because it's underneath all the others. Real intelligence doesn't announce itself. It's too busy with the problem to manage how it looks while solving it. But when your sense of worth is tied to being seen as intelligent, something shifts. Being wrong stops feeling like a mistake. It starts feeling like a threat to who you are. So you stop taking intellectual risks. You avoid the questions you can't answer. You perform certainty in rooms where honest uncertainty would serve you far better. The loudest intelligence in any room is almost never the sharpest. When's the last time you sat with not knowing something and just let it stay there? None of these habits make you unintelligent. They make you someone whose thinking developed under conditions that shaped it in specific directions. Shortcuts the brain took, protections it built, patterns it settled into because they worked well enough for long enough. The question was never whether you're smart. It's whether the version of smart you're running right now is still growing or just defending itself. The real sign this landed, you already know which one is yours. You felt it before you finished reading it. Drop it in the comments. That one, the one that was uncomfortable for about 3 seconds before you moved on. That's the one worth looking at. The lich one worth looking at.